Okay, game designers, welcome back to the next lesson on your RPG project. This will be, I guess, lesson 8, or lesson 9, 8 or 9. This is going to be on AI character creation and setup. So we're going to, since we've got some of the other abilities already going, we're going to go ahead and add an AI character and get that basically set up and just get him roaming around. So I may have to split this video up into two parts. So try to keep it to about 20 to 30 minutes at the most, and if I do have to split it up, we'll split it up into two videos, and I'll post both of these for it. So first thing you do, open your project, go over to your RPG content, and then go into your blueprints folder and open that up. And inside here, we're going to go ahead and right click and create a new folder, and we're just going to call this AI. So this will be our AI. And I'm going to give it a color. So we'll set a new color, and since this is AIs and it's enemy, we'll just make them red. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're basically going to go over to our third person BP folder, and you kind of leave this open where you can see it. Go into this blueprint, and we're just going to duplicate the third person character. Okay, so we're going to right click on this, and we're going to duplicate it. And we're just going to call this AI base. Okay, character. So this will be our AI base character. We're just going to drag it over and drop it on and move it to our AI folder. Okay, so now we can jump back over here. And so that's the reason we didn't just rename the other one, and we wanted to make a copy so we could actually do this and have this functionality based on us for us. So the next thing we're going to do is just double click, open this up. We're going to be creating several additional options or assets for this character. But the first thing we want to do is once you go in here, you know, if your viewport pops up here, you get your character there. We're going to go to the event graph and just kind of scroll out where you can see all this here, and we're just going to drag across this here and highlight it all and delete it. Okay, we're not going to need any of that for the AI because that's player control stuff, so make sure you do this in the AI character, not your actual one. So we just want to get rid of all that. We don't need any of it. Everything else is going to be controlled by other things for our AI character. The other thing you don't need in here for your AI character is this camera boom and the follow camera. So we're going to click the camera boom, and we're going to delete that, and we're also going to delete the follow camera because the AI doesn't need a camera. Nobody's going to be looking from its viewpoint anyway. You're only going to see it out there in your level. So you can go ahead and compile that, and you can leave this open for now. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we're going to go out here and we're going to right click, and we're going to create a new blueprint class. We're going to create a controller for our AI that we can, instead of the default one, we're going to create our own. So when you get this parent class chooser here, we're going to go to search and type in AI controller. So you should see it's not appearing in one of these, and we don't want a player controller, we want an actual AI controller. So we want to go here, and this is the one we want to choose. Don't pick one of these, pick this one here. So we're going to click that one, and we're going to say select. And we're just going to say AI controller base. Okay, so that's pretty much all we need to do for that at the moment. Go ahead and click save all, and we're going to go back in here to our base, our AI character, for just a second, and then we'll pretty much be done with it for now. If we go under class defaults, if you click the class defaults back in your AI base, and you go up here to the details panel on the right and click up there and say AI. If you just type in the word AI, you'll get these two. It'll narrow it down where you don't have to scroll down. You can find it pretty quickly. And we want to change these two settings. So where it says auto possess AI, that basically means when the AI, the game starts, the AI will be automatically possessed and controlled by the AI controller class that we specify, and it would run any commands and things that is programmed in there. But in this default, it only says place in world, so that means if we drag it out and place it around there, this would work. But we want to choose placed in world or spawned. So there might be occasions where we want to place an AI at a certain location, or we might want to just dynamically spawn them in certain situations. So if we get some AI minions or something like that, we want to spawn a few in a certain area. We want them to go ahead and be possessed as well. So it just saves us some effort in our programming. Okay, the other thing we need to do is change the AI controller class to the new one that we just made. So the AI controller base, that's what we want to use. And once you do that, you can go ahead and X this back off, and you'll notice it's right down here in the middle. And we'll go ahead and compile. All right, and so the next thing we're going to need, a couple of things to actually get control our character. So what we're going to need, if you right click here, you want to look for the artificial intelligence option. There's only two options here, so we're going to need both of these. So we'll just use the behavior tree first. So we're going to call this, and we named this soldier. This will be our soldier, our normal little soldier. We can have some boss characters if we want to. We create additional behavior trees for them if we need to. So just soldier underscore BT for behavior tree, and then we want to go here and we want to add a blackboard. So we'll just call this soldier underscore BB. Okay, so for blackboard. Now the blackboard is going to be used to store variable types. Behavior trees and AI cannot read normal variables like what we've been using, so we'll be creating some variables in here that it will reference in our blackboard. Okay, so the first thing let's do is we're going to open up our behavior tree. So you want to open your behavior tree up, and it'll look something like this. If you drag this down here, and it may automatically pick this up, your Blackboard asset for your, here in this case, mine did. If for any reason yours does not, and this is grayed out, you just go here to your Blackboard asset, and you just click here, and you just choose it. So you should only probably have one at the moment. So if there's another one there, it's okay. But for this case, we want the soldier BB Blackboard to be associated with the soldier underscore BT behavior tree. Okay. So we'll go ahead and save that, and we're going to go over to our Blackboard next. So we're going to do some work in here in our Blackboard. So we're going to add some keys. These are called keys, just like a variable. So we're going to create some keys here that we can use in our behavior tree. Okay, so we're going to go through some of these as we go. So we're going to first of all create an object. Okay, and the first one we're just going to call it self actor, and you'll notice it's an object over here, and if we click this down, we want to change this base class to actor. Okay, so that's all we need to do for this. Don't need to do anything else to it. So if we need to have a reference to our AI self, this would be what we can use. Okay, so we're going to add another new key. It's going to be another object, and this one we're going to call enemy character, which would be our player. Normally that'll be our player, so we want to make sure we set that up like that. So it's going to be the same thing over here. You're going to change your key type from object to actor here. Okay, we'll add an additional one now. So we're just going to add these first, and we'll get into our behavior tree. Okay, so the next one we're going to add a vector. Okay, so we're going to add a vector. We're going to call this patrol location, and we're going to be setting this. We're going to be having our AI character roam around and just pick a spot to go run to, and so we're going to use this vector location to be able to handle that. Okay, all right, the next one we're going to need, and we're going to set the ones up we need, and then we'll use them as we go. So we're going to set up a bool, which would be a true false, and we're going to say has weapon. So this will be for the AI. If they have a weapon, that's going to, and you'll see as we go along and fix this up how this actually works. Okay, we're going to have another bool, and we're going to say can see enemy, Okay, and one last one for now is another object. We're going to call this one target weapon. Okay, and target weapon should also be an actor, because our weapons are going to be that we're going to set up are going to be actor classes. So we want to make sure we know the base class. Okay, so that's really all we need to do there. So we're going to save that, and we'll jump back over here to our behavior tree. Okay, all right. So any behavior tree, it's kind of like, think of it as an upside down tree. So this is the root, and all the branches will go down, and they'll be going through, and it actually is a tree, so it will run down certain branches and do things and tasks and things like that. So this is how we're going to control our AI character. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need, if we go right here in this little root, we're going to drag down, you get a little arrow, and we're going to choose, in this case, a selector. Okay, and a selector will just make a selection, one or the other. And these little numbers here are the execution index, and that just shows the order that these would be that these will run. So 0 would be the first one. So we're just going to give it a new name. So you can go here where it says node name, and we're just going to call this AI root. Okay. Now the first thing we're going to have it do, and this will kind of be its last option. But for now, it's going to be the first option it has, but we're going to place it over on the right-hand side, because everything will run pretty much from the left-hand side to the right in any behavior tree. So it's very important how that the nodes are positioned in your graph. That will determine how the sequence or the way that they're run. So we're going to drag from this selector down this way. So drag it to the right so we don't have to move it later. And you have composites and tasks. So we want to go back into the composites. I want to choose a sequence this time. Okay, so sequence will run a sequence of events or tasks that we put underneath it in succession, left to right, unless they fail. And if they fail, they will go back up to here for the selector, and they would either try to run it again or go somewhere else. Okay, so this sequence, we're going to say this is going to be our patrol. So this will be when our character starts to patrol. Okay, so we can move this up here a little bit. And you'll notice that this is number 1. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to give our character a task. So, and the task is, and there actually is some tasks that are pre-made. So if we go down here and look, there's a lot of tasks that are already set. So there's a bunch of tasks here that move to, we'll use that one because it's already done, make a noise, play a sound, wait, different things like that. So there's a lot of things that we are going to use some of these. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just set up our own. So we're going to click new task. Okay, so we're going to create a new task for our character, our AI character to do. So we click new task, and it pops up this blueprint. So I want to go back out to my main menu, and you'll notice it just gives me this basic crazy name here. So we're going to right click and rename this thing. Okay, and I want to leave the BTT, so behavior tree task underscore, and we're going to call this find. If I can get patrol location. Let's see. Nope, not that. Find control point. Okay, so we're going to do that. So we renamed it, and it's up here. Okay, so what we're going to do in here is we're going to be doing a little bit of functionality. For this to work, we need a event, and the event's going to be called, let's see, receive execute AI. So event receive execute AI, the top one. So this is the one that we're interested in. Okay. Now what we're going to do, this is not going to be as super complicated, but we're just going to take from here. We'll drag off of here, and we're going to say set Blackboard, and we're looking, in this case, we want to set the Blackboard value as a vector. Okay, so we're going to choose this bottom option here, and it will give us this here. It'll give us a key, which will be the Blackboard key in our Blackboard that over here with our behavior tree, and in a value here that will be a vector. So what we're going to do is we're going to promote this key here to a variable. So I'm going to promote it to a variable, and I'm going to name this variable patrol location. Okay, so we're going to say our patrol location key, Blackboard key, which is over in our Blackboard, is going to be set to a bool or to a vector value. Okay, so we're going to take our controlled pawn pin, and we're going to say get actor location. Okay, so get actor location, that will give us the first of all, it's going to ask the where is this AI character currently in the world. All right, and then we're going to say we're going to run a function called get random point, and what we're looking for is the top one, get random point in navigatable radius, not reachable point but navigatable radius, the top one. This is the one that we're looking for. Okay, so what that's going to allow us to do is give a radius around our character. So that's going to be a specific spot or distance from our character, and that is how we're going to say pick a random point anywhere in that radius. Okay, now we could actually and we may do it a little differently. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and say a random float in range, because what sometimes can happen is your AI character can pick a very low number and they won't move but just a step or two. So we're going to say let's make this character move a minimum of 500 and say a maximum of 2,500. So that'll be the distance. So it can pick any number between 500 and 2,500 as its radius, and it will select a random location in that zone, and then it will pick that location. So we're going to set that as the patrol location for it to go to, and then we're going to do one final thing and say finish execute. So finish execute, and it's very important that you do this, because if you don't do this, this really won't work, and if you don't click this box for success, it will fail too. So we make sure that you do add this last part on any task you create, just to make sure that your AI will finish it. So then we'll compile that and save it, and we can go ahead and close it out. Okay, so now over here in our behavior tree, we're going to run that task. So we go to our tasks. Now we'll see it says BTT task find patrol point. So that's the one we want. That's the one we just made. It's going to be the first thing. So all this is going to do is find a point and set it. It's not going to do anything else. If we left it like this, the character would just stand there and not do a thing. So what we need to do next, after we find our patrol point, we want our character to run the next task as move to. So now it's going to move to a specific place. So where it says here, it kind of defaults to self actor, which we don't want that. We want it to move to our patrol location. So we're going to go here to our Blackboard key right here. We're going to drop this down, and we're going to say patrol location. So we're going to say move to that patrol location that we just found here. And once we get there, we want it to wait. Okay, so we're going to set up a couple of parameters in our wait. So our wait time is 5 seconds by default. So I'm going to change that to 3.0, which that'll be how long it will wait. And then a random deviation will be how much time could it wait randomly. So we'll say 1 second. So what that means is that the wait time is set to 3. It can go as low as 2 or as long as 4 or anywhere in between. So this kind of gives us a little bit of randomness. So if we have multiple AI characters, is they will actually roam around at different speeds, so they don't all look the same. So we'll go ahead and save that now. Okay, and we're going to open up, the next thing we're going to do is open up our AI controller base, and we're going to go to our event graph, and we're almost ready to test our character. Okay, so we're going to look for an event here and say on possess. So we're looking for on event on possess, and when we do that, we're going to say run behavior tree. So when we possess this character, which should be when it's placed in the world or spawned, we want to run the behavior tree, and we need to tell it which behavior tree to run. So now we only have one, so we're just going to go ahead and click that. Okay, so we can go ahead and get compile, save it, and we're going to go out here into our world, and we're going to add one additional thing. So here's where our character normally spawns. So for our AI character to do anything at all, it needs what's called a nav mesh. So we're going to drag up here, and I'm going to say nav. And if you look here, we're looking for this here, nav mesh bounds volume. So you just want to drag this out into the world, and you can press the N key to snap it down to there. And I want to drag it slightly below the ground. Now, this is the area that the AI will be able to travel in. So wherever this volume, however big this thing is. So I'm going to press the P key on my keyboard, okay? And when you do that, P as in Paul, that will give us a green tint. So that shows me this is the navigatable area that our character can run around in. So initially not very big. So we're going to scale it up. So we're going to go up here, we're going to click the scale button, and I'm just going to scale it on the Y. And when I let go, you'll notice that it adds some navigation to it. So now I'm going to go here, I'm going to expand it this way, and now I've got that, and I can also expand it a little higher so that it can actually go up the terrain a little bit. So you can adjust this accordingly, and maybe a little bit right here. Okay, so now as a good test, this would be a good place to test it. Our AI can't go too far. You can place AIs in these, you can have multiples of these, and any AI that's placed in this volume will be allowed to roam around in that particular area. So you can move that around as much as you want, make them as small as you want. This will be a good way to keep AIs in a certain area just by the navigation area. Okay, if you want to turn this back off, it's irritating. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Every time you move it, it will automatically update. You can press the P key again, and that will just turn it back off. So it's kind of nice to have it as a visual so you can see. And so now what we'll do sorry about that, we're just going to take our AI character, we're just going to drop it out here. So we'll just drop him in here, we'll drag him up a little bit, press end, and we're going to hit play, and we're going to save everything just to make sure, and we're going to test this thing and see if it works. So we're going to go ahead and hit play, and we should spawn in here just in a second, and sure enough, there we are. We'll press F11, full screen, and we'll look around, and there's my AI character. And is he moving? And oops, in this case he is not. So we've got to figure out what is going on with this guy. So he is not moving for some reason. So let me pause our video for just a minute, figure out the problem. We'll come back and fix it. Okay, back. I think I figured out the problem here. Here on our patrol location, it says patrol location is self actor, and I got to make sure I change that to here so that it actually picks that up, and we'll save that. So forgot to do that right there. So let's try it now. Let's see if our AI character is going to move around, and sure enough, there he goes. So that is a success. So he is moving around, waiting a little bit, and then he is going to stop. So all right, so we'll kind of pause. We'll stop this video here on that one. So hopefully everything works. If you got any problems, let me know, and if not, we'll see you in the next one. But real quick, again, on this task here, make sure you change this from self actor to patrol location, and it should work fine. Okay, so that'll be all for this one, and we'll see you in the next lesson.